Maya Johnson stood at the gates of Stellar Command Academy and felt very small. The buildings around her stretched up into the sky like metal mountains. Ships from 100 different worlds landed and took off every few minutes. The air hummed, with energy from machines she could not even name. She adjusted her new uniform with shaking hands. The fabric felt strange against her skin. Everything here was strange. The gravity was a little too light. The air tasted different. Even the sunlight looked wrong, because this world had 2 suns instead of 1. Other new students walked past her toward the main building. They were tall and short, covered in fur, or scales or metal plates. Some floated instead of walking. Others moved on more legs than Maya could count. She was the only human in sight. A voice spoke inside her head without warning. Maya jumped and looked around in panic before remembering about the translator device clipped to her ear. "Welcome to Stellar Command Academy," the voice said through the small machine. "I am Dean Vextar. You will follow the marked paths to registration." Maya saw the other students moving along glowing lines that appeared on the ground. She hurried to catch up with them, trying not to stare at the alien beings around her. The registration hall was enormous. Hundreds of students from dozens of worlds filled the space. Maya got in line behind a creature that looked like a walking tree, and in front of something that might have been made of living crystal. When her turn came, she stepped up to a desk where a 4-armed being with silver skin looked at her with obvious doubt. "Name," the being said without looking up from his computer screen. "Maya Johnson," she replied. "Species? Human." Now the being looked at her directly. His 4 eyes studied her like she was some kind of strange bug. "Human," he repeated. Slowly. "Yes, we have been told to expect one of you. Your test scores were adequate for admission, though barely. Your physical abilities are below average for this academy. Your mental processing speed ranks in the bottom 10% of accepted students." Maya felt her face turn red. She wanted to say something back, but what could she say? Everything he said was true. However, the being continued, "Political necessity requires your presence here. You have been assigned to basic level courses. Do not expect special treatment because of your species' recent addition to the Federation." He handed her a datapad with her class schedule and room assignment. Maya took it and walked away quickly before he could say anything else that would make her feel worse. Her dormitory room was small but clean. Her roommate had not arrived yet. Maya sat on the narrow bed and looked at her schedule. Tactical analysis, xenobiology, advanced physics, combat simulation, Federation history, and basic telepathic defense. The last one made her laugh bitterly. Humans could not read minds or speak telepathically. How was she supposed to defend against something she could not even detect? The next morning, Maya went to her first class. Tactical analysis was taught by Commander Jake Sullivan, the only other human at the academy. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. When Maya entered the classroom, he gave her a small nod, but did not treat her differently from the other students. "Today we will study the Battle of Kepler Station," Commander Sullivan announced. "This conflict demonstrates the importance of understanding your enemy's capabilities and limitations." The holographic display in the center of the room showed a space battle between Federation ships and unknown attackers. Maya watched as the Federation forces used standard tactics that she recognized from her studies on Earth. The enemy ships moved in patterns that seemed random at first. "Who can tell me why the Federation forces failed in this engagement?" Commander Sullivan asked. A student with blue skin and tentacles for arms raised one appendage. The Federation commanders assumed the enemy would follow logical attack patterns. When the attackers used chaos instead of order, our forces could not adapt quickly enough. "Correct," Sullivan said. The enemy used unpredictability as a weapon. Our commanders were trained to fight opponents who thought like we do. When faced with truly random tactics, they could not respond effectively. Maya stared at the battle display. Something about the enemy ship movements looked familiar to her, though she could not say why. She raised her hand. "Yes, Miss Johnson? The enemy ships are not really moving randomly," she said. "There is a pattern, but it is hidden inside what looks like chaos." The classroom fell silent. Several alien students turned to stare at her. Commander Sullivan looked interested. "Can you explain what you see?" Maya stood up and walked to the holographic display. She pointed at different enemy ships as they moved through the battle. This ship attacks first, then falls back. While everyone watches it retreat, these two ships move to flank positions. But they do not attack right away. They wait until the first ship attacks again. Then they strike from the sides while the defenders are focused forward. She traced the movements with her finger. It looks random because the timing is not regular. But if you watch long enough, you can see they are working together. They use the chaos to hide their real plan. Commander Sullivan smiled. "Very good observation, Miss Johnson. You have identified what our own tactical computers missed during the actual battle." Maya felt a warm glow of pride, but it did not last long. As she returned to her seat, she heard whispers from the other students. "Lucky guess," one said. "Humans see patterns everywhere, even when they do not exist," said another. "Primitive minds often mistake coincidence for design," added a third. Rest of the class period passed without Maya saying another word. She took notes and tried to ignore the looks from her classmates. Her other classes were harder. In xenobiology, she had to memorize the basic facts about hundreds of alien species. In advanced physics, the concepts were so far beyond Earth science that she felt like a child trying to understand adult conversations. Combat simulation was the worst. She was paired with a chromic student whose computer-like mind could calculate the perfect response to any attack in milliseconds. "Your reaction time is too slow," the chromic student informed her after defeating her for the 10th time. "Your strategy selection is inefficient. Your tactical awareness is limited. Perhaps humans are not suited for military service." Maya wanted to quit. She wanted to go back to Earth where things made sense and people did not have tentacles or metal skin or the ability to read minds. But every night, she remembered something Commander Sullivan had told her privately after that first class. "They think they understand humans because they have read reports about us," he had said. "But reports cannot capture what we really are. Keep your eyes open, Maya. Learn everything you can about them. But do not let them learn everything about you. Not yet." Maya did not understand what he meant, but she decided to keep trying. Maybe she was not as smart or as fast or as strong as her alien classmates. Maybe she would never be able to compete. With minds that could process information at the speed of light, or bodies that could survive in the vacuum of space. But she was human. And maybe, just maybe, that would turn out to be more important than anyone at Stellar Command Academy realized. 3 months had passed since Maya arrived at the academy. Her grades were still average, but something strange was happening in her practical exercises. During combat simulations, she kept finding ways to win that nobody expected. Last week, she had faced a Zephyrian student named Kel, who could read the minds of his teammates. This gave him a huge advantage because he always knew what his allies were thinking. But Maya had noticed that the telepathic connection worked both ways. When she created electromagnetic interference using broken equipment, it disrupted Kel's mental link and confused his entire team. Her instructors called it luck. Her fellow students said it was just primitive human unpredictability. But Maya was starting to think it might be something else. She was walking to her advanced physics class when the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed in the hallways. Students stopped and looked around in confusion. Then Dean Vextar's voice filled the academy through the communication system. All students report to safe zones immediately. This is not a practice drill. Unknown ships have entered our system. Move quickly, but do not panic. Maya joined the crowd of students moving toward the designated safety areas. Through the large windows, she could see dark shapes in the sky. Ships unlike anything she had studied were appearing out of hyperspace. They were black and smooth, with no visible weapons or markings. "Who are they?" asked a student with green skin and 6 arms. "I have never seen ships like those," replied another student, who looked like a giant insect. Maya pressed closer to the window. The mysterious ships were moving in what looked like random patterns around the academy world. They darted left and right, up and down, with no clear purpose. Some flew close to the planet's surface, while others stayed high in orbit. But as Maya watched, something bothered her about their movements. She had seen this kind of behavior before, though she could not remember where Commander Sullivan appeared beside the group of students. He was carrying a weapon and looked very serious. "Commander," Maya said, "are those ships attacking us?" "We do not know yet," Sullivan replied. "They appeared without warning and have not responded to our communications. The defense systems are tracking them, but their flight patterns are too erratic to predict." Maya stared at the ships for several more minutes. Then suddenly she remembered where she had seen similar movement patterns before. It was in a nature documentary about Earth. "Animals, Commander Sullivan," she said quickly. "I think I know what they are doing." "What do you mean?" "They are not flying randomly. They are testing us. Like wolves circling a herd of animals before they attack. They want to see how we respond to different threats." Sullivan looked at her with surprise. "Explain," Maya pointed. "At the ships outside. Watch that group near the communications tower. They fly close, then back away. They are seeing how fast our defenses react. Now look at those ships by the shield generator. They are doing the same thing, but from a different angle." As they watched, Maya's observations proved correct. Each group of ships was probing different parts of the Academy's defenses. They would approach a target, wait for the defensive systems to respond, then retreat and try a different approach. "They are mapping our defenses," Maya continued, "learning where our weapons are located, how fast they can turn, how far they can shoot. This is not an attack. This is reconnaissance." Commander Sullivan activated his communication device. "Command Center, this is Sullivan. I have a student here who may have important tactical information." Within minutes, Maya found herself in the Academy's main command center. Dean Vextar was there, along with several other high-ranking officers from different species. Large screens showed the mysterious ships from multiple angles. "Explain your theory, Cadet Johnson." Dean Vextar said. Maya felt nervous speaking to so many important people, but she forced herself to focus on the tactical displays. "The ships are following a pattern," she said. "It looks like chaos, but it is actually very organized. They test one defense point, measure the response, then move to the next point. They are building a complete map of how we defend this world." "Our computers have analyzed their movements extensively," said a chromic officer. "No pattern has been detected." "That is because they are not following a mathematical pattern," Maya replied. "They are following a behavioral pattern. Like hunters, studying their prey." She walked to the main display and began pointing at different ship formations. This group tested the north shield generator at 1423. The shields activated in 3.2 seconds. Now watch this group near the south generator. They approached at 1431, exactly 8 minutes later. When the shields activated, they measured a response time of 3.4 seconds. Maya's voice grew more confident as she explained. "They are comparing response times across different locations. They know that our south shields are slightly slower than our north shields. With enough tests, they will know the exact capabilities of every defensive system we have. Dean Vextar studied the tactical data while Maya spoke. His 4 eyes moved quickly between different screens. If you are correct, he said slowly, then we can predict their next probe locations. More than that, Maya said, we can give them false information. If we deliberately slow down our response times in some areas and speed them up in others, we can make them think our defenses are different than they really are. The command center fell silent. Officers from a dozen different species stared at the young human who had just proposed a deception strategy that none of their advanced computers had suggested. Implement her recommendations, Dean Vextar ordered. Adjust defensive response. Patterns according to Cadet Johnson's specifications. For the next 2 hours, Maya worked with the Academy's tactical officers to coordinate a complex deception. They made some shield generators appear slower and weaker than they were. They hid the locations of several weapon systems. They even created fake vulnerabilities in areas that were actually heavily defended. The mysterious ships continued their reconnaissance, unaware that they were now gathering carefully crafted lies instead of accurate intelligence. Finally, after collecting what they believed was complete information about the Academy's defenses, the unknown ships departed as suddenly as they had arrived. They jumped to hyperspace and vanished, leaving behind only questions about who they were and why they had come. In the debriefing that followed, Maya found herself the center of attention from beings who had previously ignored her. Professors wanted to study her tactical thinking. Military officers requested detailed reports on her observations. How did you recognize their pattern when our computers could not? Asked Dr. Lisa Chong, a human scientist who had arrived to study the incident. Maya thought about the question carefully. I think it is because humans learned to hunt and fight other humans. We had to be creative because our enemies could think just like us. These other species developed their tactics fighting enemies with completely different abilities. They rely on their natural advantages instead of pure strategy. And the mysterious ships? They think like us, but not exactly like us. They are intelligent, but not in the same way that any of the Federation species are intelligent. That is why they are so dangerous. As Maya left the command center, she noticed that the other students looked at her differently now. She was no longer just the weak human who barely qualified for admission. She had become something new, a tactical asset at the galaxy's most advanced military academy was only beginning to understand. Commander Sullivan walked beside her as they returned to the dormitory areas. You did well today, Maya, he said quietly. But this is just the beginning. Those ships will be back, and next time they will be prepared for conventional Federation tactics. What do you think they want? Maya asked. Sullivan was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I think they want to test whether the Federation is ready for a real war. And thanks to you, we may have just bought ourselves some time to prepare. Maya nodded, but inside she felt a growing certainty that the mysterious ships represented something far more dangerous than a simple military threat. They were intelligent, organized, and patient. Most importantly, they had been studying the Federation for far longer than anyone realized. The real test was still coming. News of Maya's success spread through the Academy faster than official reports could travel. Within days, everyone knew about the human cadet who had outsmarted the mysterious attackers. Professors who had never spoken to her before now requested meetings. Students who had ignored her suddenly wanted to be her study partners. Maya found all the attention uncomfortable. When people asked her to explain how she had figured out the enemy pattern, her answers sounded too simple. It just made sense when I looked at it the right way, she would say. This frustrated the alien professors who wanted detailed explanations they could study. and teach to other students. Dean Vextar called Maya to his office 3 days after the attack. His silver skin gleamed under the bright lights as he studied her with all 4 of his eyes. "Cadet Johnson," he began, "your tactical analysis has created quite a stir among the faculty. Dr. Kelleth from the Zenith Psychology Department believes your success was pure luck. Professor Zarn from Military Strategy thinks you possess some unknown human ability. I am curious to hear your own opinion." Maya shifted uncomfortably in her chair. "I do not think it was luck, sir. But I also do not think I am special. I just saw something that seemed obvious to me." "Obvious," Vextar repeated slowly. "What seems obvious to you appears to be invisible to our most advanced computer systems. This suggests that human minds process information in ways we do not yet understand." Before Maya could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the academy. Emergency lights flashed red and yellow. Vextar's communication device activated immediately. "Dean Vextar," came an urgent voice. "We have multiple emergency signals from Federation installations across the sector. The attackers have returned, and this time they are hitting dozens of targets simultaneously." Maya and Dean Vextar rushed to the command center. The main display showed a horrifying sight. Red warning signals were appearing on star maps throughout Federation space. Military bases, research stations, and colony worlds were all under attack at the same time. Commander Sullivan met them at the tactical station. His face was grim as he reported the situation. 17 major installations are under assault, he said. The attackers are using the same ships we saw before, but their tactics have evolved. They are not just probing defenses anymore. They are launching full-scale attacks. Maya studied the tactical displays showing battles across multiple star systems. What she saw made her stomach feel cold with fear. They are not just attacking, she said quietly. They are winning. The screens showed Federation forces being systematically defeated at every location. Ships that had never been seen before were destroying defense fleets with weapons that seemed impossible. Planetary shields that had never been breached were failing within minutes. "How are they doing this?" asked Dr. Chong, who had arrived to monitor the situation. "Our intelligence suggested they were scouts, not a full invasion force." Maya watched, the battle reports streaming in from across the galaxy. Something about the attacker's success bothered her deeply, but she could not immediately identify what was wrong. "Commander Sullivan," she said, "can you show me the tactical decisions our forces made in these battles?" Sullivan brought up detailed combat logs from 3 different battles. Maya studied them carefully, looking for patterns in both the Federation responses and the enemy attacks. "This is wrong," she said suddenly. "What do you mean?" Sullivan asked. "Look at these battle plans." Maya pointed at the displays. Admiral Chun used a standard Zephyrian flanking maneuver at Kepler Station. General Vorthik employed classic chromic mathematical optimization at the Centauri base. Commander Riley used traditional human pincer tactics at the Europa colony. Maya's voice grew more urgent as she continued. Each commander used the tactics that their species does best. But the attackers countered every strategy perfectly, like they knew exactly what each commander would do before the battle even started. "Doctor." Chong leaned forward with interest. "You think they can predict our tactical thinking?" "More than predict," Maya replied. "I think they can read our minds, but not in the way we understand telepathy." Dean Vextar looked skeptical. "Our mental shields are specifically designed to prevent telepathic intrusion. Every Federation officer has psychological defenses against mind reading. But what if these attackers do not use telepathy like the Zephyrians do?" Maya asked. "What if they read thoughts in a completely different way, something our defenses were never designed to stop?" She turned to face the assembled officers. "Every species in the Federation thinks in predictable patterns. Zephyrians always prioritize group coordination. Chromic always choose the most mathematically efficient solution. Vortians always lead with energy manipulation. We have been trained to think this way because it works against known enemies. Maya walked to the main tactical display and began highlighting different battle reports. But predictable thinking becomes a weakness when facing an enemy that can model our thought processes. They do not need to read our minds directly. They just need to understand how each species approaches problems, then calculate the most likely response to any situation. The command center fell silent as the implications of Maya's theory became clear. If she was correct, then every Federation military doctrine was compromised. There is something else, Maya continued, her voice growing more confident. Humans might be immune to this kind of mental analysis. Why do you think that? Asked Commander Sullivan. Because human thinking does not follow the same patterns as other species. We evolved differently. We had to survive by being unpredictable because our enemies could think just like us. We developed strategies based on chaos, creativity, and constant adaptation. Dr. Chong nodded slowly. Human resistance to standard telepathic influence has always puzzled galactic scientists. We assumed it was due to primitive mental development. What if it is actually a form of natural protection? Maya suggested. What if human minds are naturally resistant to the kind of predictive analysis these attackers are using? Before anyone could respond, new alerts appeared on the tactical displays. The mysterious attackers were approaching the Academy system again, but this time they brought a massive fleet. Hundreds of black ships were emerging from hyperspace, far more than the small reconnaissance force that had visited before. They are coming here, Dean Vextar said quietly. This time, they intend to finish what they started. Maya felt fear grip her chest, but alongside the fear came a strange sense of clarity. We cannot fight them using standard Federation tactics, she said. They will predict and counter everything we do. Then what do you suggest? Asked Commander Sullivan. Maya looked around the command center at all the advanced officers and sophisticated computer systems. Then she smiled grimly. We fight them the human way, she said. We make it up as we go along. Dean Vextar stared at her as if she had suggested something completely insane. You want to defend this academy using improvised tactics with no strategic planning? No, sir, Maya replied. I want to defend this academy using the one thing they cannot predict or counter, pure human chaos. Outside the academy, the enemy. Fleet continued to grow larger. Soon, Maya would have the chance to prove whether human unpredictability could succeed where thousands of years of refined galactic military science had failed. The real battle was about to begin, and for the first time since arriving at the academy, Maya felt like she might actually belong here after all. The enemy fleet filled the sky above the academy like a swarm of black insects. Maya counted over 300 ships of different sizes, all moving in perfect formation toward the planet. The largest vessels were bigger than anything in the Federation fleet. Their weapons glowed with energy that made the air itself seem to vibrate. Admiral Kate Morrison had arrived from Earth with a small human task force just hours before the attack began. She stood in the command center next to Dean Vextar, both of them looking at tactical displays that showed impossible odds. Our combined forces have 47 ships, Admiral Morrison said grimly. They have over 300. Our weapons are standard Federation technology. Theirs appear to be something completely new. The situation is hopeless using conventional tactics, Dean Vextar agreed. Every battle plan our computers generate results in total defeat within the first hour. Maya stepped forward from where she had been studying the enemy formations. Admiral Morrison, I request permission to coordinate the defense. The command center fell silent. Every officer present stared at the 19-year-old cadet, who had just asked to command the most important battle in Federation history. "Johnson," Admiral Morrison said carefully, "you have no experience commanding space fleets. This battle will determine the survival of everyone on this world." "That is exactly why I need to command it," Maya replied. "Every experienced commander will use tactics that the enemy can predict. They have studied our military doctrine for months, maybe years. They know how Zephyrians think, how Chromic calculate, how Vortians fight. But they do not know how humans think when we stop trying to copy everyone else." Dean Vextar looked at Admiral Morrison. "Her tactical insights have been accurate. So far, perhaps we should consider her proposal." "The fleet commanders will never follow orders from a cadet," Admiral Morrison pointed out. "Then do not tell them she is a cadet," suggested Commander Sullivan. "Give her a field promotion. Make her a tactical coordinator. Let her plan the battle while you give the orders." Admiral Morrison studied Maya for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Cadet Johnson, you are hereby promoted to the rank of lieutenant, commander and appointed as tactical coordinator for this engagement. God help us all." Maya felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders like a heavy blanket. Through the command center windows, she could see the enemy ships beginning their attack approach. There was no time for fear. "First order," Maya said. "All ships break from standard defensive formations immediately. I want our fleet scattered across the entire system in what looks like complete chaos. That will leave our individual ships vulnerable," protested a Chromic fleet commander. "Good," Maya replied. "I want them to think we are confused and disorganized. Send each ship to different coordinates with no apparent pattern. Make it look like we are running away in panic." As the Federation ships spread out across the star system, the enemy fleet began to react. Their tight formations shifted to pursue what appeared to be fleeing vessels. "Now," Maya continued, "I want every ship to start doing things that make no tactical sense. Have the Aurora fire at empty space. Tell the Valiant to fly directly toward that asteroid field. Order the Defiant to shut down half its weapon systems." "These orders are completely irrational," objected a Vortian captain. "That is the point," Maya explained. "The enemy has been winning because they can predict rational tactics. We are going to win by being completely irrational. For 20 minutes. The Federation fleet appeared to act like a group of panicked amateurs. Ships flew in random directions, fired at nothing, and made decisions that violated every principle of space combat. The enemy fleet adjusted their attack patterns to take advantage of what looked like Federation incompetence. "They are taking the bait," Maya observed, watching the tactical displays. "Look how they are positioning themselves. They think our ships are easy targets now." "Because they are easy targets," Dean Vextar pointed out. "Your ships are scattered and vulnerable." Maya smiled. "That is what they think. But watch what happens next." She activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, execute Phoenix Protocol." The scattered Federation vessels suddenly changed completely. Ships that had been flying randomly snapped into coordinated attack formations. Vessels that had appeared to be fleeing turned and began advancing on enemy positions. The weapons that had been firing at empty space were now perfectly aimed at enemy ships that had moved into those exact locations. "Impossible," whispered the Chromic fleet commander. "How did you predict where they would position themselves?" "I did not predict it," Maya explained. "I made them position themselves exactly where I wanted them. While we looked confused and helpless, they moved their ships to take advantage of our apparent weaknesses. But our weaknesses were carefully planned traps. The battle turned in minutes. Enemy ships that had expected easy victories found themselves surrounded by Federation vessels that had been lying in wait. The black ships tried to adapt their tactics, but every move they made had been anticipated by Maya's chaotic strategy. There. Formations are breaking, reported Admiral Morrison. They cannot maintain coordination when they cannot predict our next move. That is because we do not have a next move, Maya said. Every ship commander has been given general objectives, but complete freedom to achieve them however they want. We are not following any plan that can be predicted or countered. The enemy fleet began to retreat, but Maya was not finished. All ships implement wild-card maneuvers. Do whatever you think will work, but do not tell anyone else what you are planning. Federation ships began acting with complete independence. Some used classical tactics, others tried experimental maneuvers, and a few did things that had never been attempted in space combat before. The enemy fleet found themselves fighting dozens of different battles simultaneously, each one requiring different responses. Within an hour, the enemy retreat became a full-scale rout. Their surviving ships jumped to hyperspace and disappeared, leaving behind wreckage and unanswered questions in the aftermath. As damage reports came in and casualties were counted, Maya found herself surrounded by officers who looked at her with a mixture of respect and disbelief. "How did you know that would work?" asked Dean Vextar. "I did not know," Maya admitted. "That was the point. If I did not know what we were going to do, then they could not know either." Admiral Morrison put her hand on Maya's shoulder. "Lieutenant Commander Johnson, what you accomplished here today will change how the entire galaxy thinks about warfare." "I hope not," Maya replied. "The moment we turn this into a standard tactic, it will stop working. The enemy will adapt to chaos just like they adapted to order." Dr. Chang, who had recorded everything for later analysis, asked the question everyone was thinking. Who were they? What did they want? Maya looked out at the debris field where enemy ships had been destroyed. "I think they were weapons created by some ancient civilization. Weapons designed to prevent any species from becoming too powerful or too unified. And now? Now they know that the Federation has humans," Maya said quietly. "And they know that human thinking cannot be easily predicted or controlled. That makes us the most dangerous thing they have ever encountered." She paused, then added, "It also makes us their primary target." As the Academy began repairs and the fleet regrouped, Maya realized that winning this battle had only been the beginning. The mysterious enemy would return, and next time they would be prepared for human unpredictability. But Maya was no longer the uncertain cadet who had arrived at the Academy months ago. She was now something new, humanity's first representative in a galaxy that was about to discover just how dangerous human creativity could be when it was no longer trying to fit into someone else's rules. The universe's best academy had finally met its unknown threat, and the threat was everything they had never expected it to be.